Hello, it's about time I make one of these. YouTube introduced this a while back now, so might as well make something. So do people even watch these things? I have a feeling that they don't really watch these things. Like they'll see something of yours and they'll just keep clicking through your videos instead of watching this. So might as well make one of these things. I'm not even gonna try or pretend to make it super professional like all these people do it. Like, oh hey, look at me, watch my channel and this and that. I'll just quickly explain what goes on here. And some, I guess some backstory too, to make it more interesting. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this channel initially began because, I sing a lot. So I would do these covers on my computer and nobody was listening to them. And they're probably garbage now because they were forever ago. And I think through the years I've progressed. Even if you go back and listen to my ancient videos, I think I've progressed. But I used to sing a lot of covers on my computer, and it was the only person listening to them was me. And then eventually I ended up discussing singing with a friend, and I would show them some of the covers, which is kind of embarrassing now because they're probably garbage. But she gave me the idea that, hey, no one's listening to them, so why don't you throw them on YouTube? And that's what I did. And I'm like, never thought of that. I thought that was kind of weird at first, but I threw them on YouTube. No one really watched them, and I don't blame them. Now, I know this is more than a trailer, but I just want to throw this stuff out there so people understand why I love this stuff. I grew up in the pop era, so when this whole pop scene was coming about, I was a little boy, so I was just the right age to really soak it all up. I always liked the sound of harmonies. Right? I'm a harmony fan. I'm a harmony arrangement fan. I love the sound of blends. So I'll never forget it. I'll never forget the day I was in kindergarten, and it was the year 1999, and that song hit the radio on the school bus. And it was the you are my fire, the one desire, believe when I say I want it that way. Okay, it was I Want It That Way by Backstreet Boys. And all the older kids, and when you're a little kid, the older kids are super cool, and they are the role models, and they're everything you want to be as a little kid, right? All the big kids in the back, who are the cool kids to us, they were all singing this song. At the time, the song was brand new, so it was on the radio a lot. And this was the first time that I heard it. And when it came on the radio, all the older kids were singing the song. So I thought, man, this must be the coolest song and the coolest band ever. And what I heard was these blends. And I always loved the sound of harmonies. I was so attracted to that sound. And I was a Backstreet Boys fan ever since. So I grew up on Backstreet Boys and loving the harmonies of Backstreet Boys. The two albums I had growing up was Millennium and Black and Blue. My brother and I would lightly practice harmonies, but it wasn't until our teens that we started to take it more seriously. And again, I always loved the sound of harmonies. Now, I'll never forget that I heard that Africa song that came out when I was a teenager. I was informed that there was actually an 80s version, and I heard the 80s version. I was like, no, this is the real song. And I always thought the harmony sounded nice in that song, and I was really curious trying to understand what was going on in the song. But then I heard NSYNC doing an a cappella of I Drive Myself Crazy, and my brother and I were utterly fascinated by that, and we were like, no, we have to understand this. We have to try to understand this. So we studied that song for many years, trying to piece it out and understand what each harmony is doing exactly. And then through the years, I developed the taste of looking into and listening to groups from the same era, these harmony groups. I loved the blending sound, really got into Boyz II Men and 98 Degrees, NSYNC, and these are some of my favorite bands, and I love the harmony arrangements. I picked out I Drive Myself Crazy by NSYNC, and it took a while to get it down, but I picked it out, threw it on YouTube, and it actually got some views. So along with covers, I would try to pick out the vocals to these songs, and it's been a process. It's pretty tricky sometimes, especially when there's a lot of a music presence, so a lot of instruments, and sometimes it's tricky to pick them out. But I really try my best to study the chorus to the songs and then try to get the harmonies down and then show you guys how they go, because I always find this type of thing fascinating. Almost every time I hear a song with a lot of harmonies in it, I have to try to pick it out in my brain. And I realize that I've gained a viewership from this type of content, so I just rolled with it. So that's my channel. I do some covers. I do harmony tutorials. Often they are the groups that I kind of talked about, kind of like the vocal group type. I've done a lot of Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. Those are my most popular ones. 98 Degrees. I can also get into Westlife. I like Boys to Men. I've done some Five, some of the classic boy bands from the 90s era. I also like a Beach Boys too. I don't know if they count as a boy band, sort of ish. 60s rock band. They do a lot of harmonies as well. I've done some stuff from them, and maybe a couple other groups in there in the mix. So groups of that era. I'm just a fan of harmonies. I tend to love 90s music. Yeah, so that's my videos. Take a look around. I go in depth. Always make sure you look for updates because again, it's tricky sometimes, and I do extensive studying to try to pick out these harmonies and try to get them as best as I can, as close to the track as I can, and so yeah, make sure to listen out to these videos. I do a lot of explaining and talking, and sometimes I talk too much. People are aware of that, kind of like this video. So yeah, so take a look around. Got a lot of stuff. If you like the boy band era stuff, these vocal groups, and are interested in the vocal harmonies, just like me, I'm a huge fan of the harmony and the harmony arrangements in these songs. That's what I like about these groups. Then take a look around. And more to come. And peace and love and ice cream cake. God bless.